Hello, book besties.
I'm Albie.
And I'm Nikki,
Welcome to Backstage with the Book Babes.
where we spill the tea on the secret lives of your favorite romance authors.
We've got a fabulous author joining us today. She writes 2S LGBTQIA plus rom-coms and sports romances, so it should be a fun one. But first, how have you been?
I have been experimenting with spraying some of the edges of my books just for funsies. When we had
Mhm.
Samara Knight on, she was talking about how she does it herself. So I was like, I'm going to try this out because we've got Rose City Romance coming up in 2 weeks. So I'm going to spray a handful of them if they turn out well. And I did one of the proof copies of the Love Pivot as a trial one. It's hard to see on the video, but it's a nice light pink, and it
That's
actually turned
gorgeous.
out really nice. So I'm super excited about that. I think I'm going to make about 10 of them before Rose City. And then as long as I get my books on time, book vault, thank you. But yeah, try that out. See how they go. See how they sell. That's what I've been up to. How about you?
Maybe I really should have sent you my books and then be like, you want to just spray those too?
Oh, yeah, give me more work because that's what I need.
We have so much time on our hands, right?
Oh, right.
Um,
Yeah,
es-
exactly.
Especially because I'm putting out new episodes of Bro Super on my Ream account, the combat juggling romance that comes out in the fall. And then I also just got my dev edits back from my editor. So I'm super excited to dive into those for my trick shot celebrity romance.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you look at them? Are you scared or?
I read the letter and she's right about everything, as always, obviously.
That's hilarious.
So we'll get there.
That's fair. So that's what's up with us. But now we're very excited to introduce you to our guest author, Ruby Rana, a massive book. Well, babe, welcome to you, Ruby.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you guys.
We're glad to have you on too. So I guess we'll get started. You can tell us a little bit about your books. You include all of these different genres in one series, which is the Ottawa Regents.
hmm
Can you tell us a little bit about your books?
Sure. So the Ottawa Regents follows three couples through the series. They're all interconnected, but standalones. It does kind of go chronologically from the first couple to the third. So you do see previous couples in the books later in the series. So it starts with Snapshot, which is a estranged childhood friends to lovers, where the NHL All-Star gets into a little trouble postseason and requires a lawyer to kind of help save his rep. So they're taking some legal action, and one of the best libel lawyers out there is his childhood friend. So Indira gets hired by his management and his agent, and he didn't know, or else, he would have recognized. So they have all these kind of like missed connections right before
Mhm.
they're about to meet because she's trying to avoid him, knowing that he is who he is. He has a certain profile. And yeah, it's really fun. They finally meet. They have a meet disaster. All of the
Oh,
books have a meet disaster, which is one of my favorite things to write. So yeah, it's a lot of forced proximity, working together. She goes to his games. There's a lot of fun banter. She has a grudge from when they were kids. And yeah, they kind of work through it, end up being secret friends with benefits since it's not really legal to do that kind of stuff with your active client. And there's a no kissing rule. So there's all sorts of little micro tropes in there too. They go to Whistler and end up in the
oh,
same suite. So there's all sorts of shenanigans and a lot of found family in the first book. And then it goes on to Wade and Gabe, Wade is the super young goof off playboy goalie, and Gabe is Indira's college roommate, a roommate from university because it's set in Canada. And she is now a sportscaster. She is a sideline reporter, and she got moved. In the first book, she had moved from one sport to hockey, and she had just kind of started her career in hockey reporting and has bumped into Wade several times. She's 8 years older, so there's like an age gap there, and it's just really fun. She finds him really juvenile, but as they get to know each other, they respect each other. They're fake dating in a butterfly effect. It's age gap, fake dating for PR. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Again, more found family. We see characters from the first book And then Afterglow, which I actually have with me, is Fletcher and
Oh,
Beraz,
pretty.
who they are also featured in the first two books. Fletcher, my boy, is a shy, bookish version, and he's kind of floundering in his career. He's been playing for 8 or 9 years and hasn't really progressed in his career. Beraz is a law student who has failed the bar several
Oh.
times and was recently diagnosed with a learning disability and ADHD. And so she's kind of navigating it. Her whole life is falling apart. They're both feeling like all of their friends are moving on. They're getting married, they're having kids, and neither of them really have any direction in their career or life. She gets evicted and also runs him over with her bike,
Oh my
giving him
goodness.
a concussion. And so
Oh
he's
no.
always been too shy to talk to her because they've been in the same circles for 6 years or so. They've had these mutual crushes that they've never voiced. And suddenly they're living together for the summer. And so there's spicy lessons, more shenanigans because Beraz is a chaotic ADHD girly and Fletcher's just so patient with her. So we do a lot of forced proximity, meet disasters,
Yeah.
flipping tropes. I enjoy all that.
Love that.
And yeah, I'm really excited to talk more about it.
Yeah. They all sound good. I love all those tropes.
Yeah. Yeah. Meat disaster for sure. 100% in.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's so fun. I think it's really fun.
exactly. So, what was the moment that you realized that you had a book inside you that was just like clamoring to be out in the world?
Um, so I have been writing for a really long time, but long form was not something that I had really experimented with until probably 2019. So I actually started writing fanfic. It's not fanfic in the sense that that I had, I guess, I don't know what it's called. Is it called like real person fic? You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I kind of added original characters to celebrities' lives and kind of mashed it together and just created a completely different story. And
Okay.
realized that I had more stories that I wanted to put out there. Eventually, that led to Snapshot. I think I was reading a lot of hockey romance at the time, and
Hmm.
so around 2021, I started writing Snapshot, and it was just very silly. It was a really hard time in my personal life, as a mother of two toddlers. I was just going through it, and Snapshot is just a very silly, silly story, and it really got me through some dark days. So those goofballs just always made me laugh, and I was so excited to get it out there. There's a lot of stuff that I, deleted. Even now, I'm like, man, this book is so chunky. It probably could have used even more editing, but I just love the characters and their stories so much, and so I kind of just ran with it. I think I did have an idea that there would be these couples in the future. It wasn't just Landon and Indira, but that their whole little group would kind of slowly get paired off. And they're all like connected in different ways. All of the guys are obviously on the same team, and all of the girls have a little girl group. I just like how these connections build, and then they build this little group of family that just is there for each other throughout the years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Found family
awesome.
is so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they all have different situations with their families. Some have supportive, wonderful families. Some just have different relationships with their families, whether it's strained or non-existent, and so I like to have, even if they have a wonderful family life, to have this kind of circle of support outside of that. It was just really nice and heartwarming to write.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I
That's great.
think readers can tell when you enjoy writing it so much.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, they're so silly, they make you laugh. But like, I think readers can feel that coming through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I
Definitely.
I get that, like, that kind of humor is not for everyone, and that's okay. Some people may not find it funny, but, I don't wanna age myself or anything, but I'm definitely a elder millennial, and so there's a lot of sarcasm, self-deprecating humor, a lot of pop culture references, and it's just a lot of fun. For me, it was very fun to write. I had a good time writing it, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Why did you decide to set it in Ottawa?
You know, I don't really have any control over these characters or anything like that. Um, but for me, I just felt like it made sense in terms of I know Ottawa, like the Senators are not a great team or anything like that, but I thought it would be fun to actually have them be a good team and kind of be at like peak of their career, akin to the Bruins or the Penguins, and just have these really strong players that they've kind of built up over the years and are going to get to Stanley Cup. It also made sense for Indira as a lawyer. She had previously worked at the Supreme Court, and there's so many parts of Ontario I really enjoy. I have family out in the Toronto area, and we've just gone around. And so like to name drop the places that I've visited, and I get all sorts of messages from readers like, "Are you Canadian?" And no, I am
Yeah,
not
that's funny.
actually, but I have been to all of the places that I've mentioned. They're like,
Very
"I'm
cool.
from Kitchener, and you're right. It is a shithole," you know? And I'm like, "Sorry." Like, there are characters from Kitchener or those that live in like Waterloo or Windsor, like you mentioned. Um, when we were chatting earlier, yeah, Landon's mom is a nurse who lives in Windsor and commutes to Henry Ford every day. It's a very common thing that happens across the border right there. So, yeah, I tried to put a little realism in it, but romance is also about fantasies. There's always going to be silly things like, oh yeah, we just
For sure.
ended up at the same resort in Whistler, and now they've overbooked, and we've we booked a suite in the same, like they did a mistake and now we have to share the bed. Like that's not super realistic,
Only
but
one
it's
bed.
fun. So, um,
It's super
yeah, and
realistic,
I love
yeah, or maybe
Ottawa.
you, like, check into your hotel and you go in and there's a man there, it just happens.
Which literally happened
Yeah,
out
yeah. I
It
mean,
Games
literally
Romance
happened to
Spell.
me 2 weeks ago, yeah.
so see, it's realistic. But yeah, I loved Ottawa when I visited. I thought it was so fun. It's a beautiful city and it's diverse too. And because I write about brown women, I just thought this makes sense because these communities exist there. And I think oftentimes Toronto and Vancouver are kind of seen as where the cool stuff is, where the diversity is, but there's also diversity elsewhere in Canada, and I just thought it was fun. It just made sense now.
I'm in Hamilton, which is a very diverse city, but I actually have a book signing in Ottawa in the summer, and I'm going to be in Kitchener in a few weeks for another one. So all of those places are.
Cool.
And I went to school in Guelph. That's my.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
nice.
And I lived in Whistler for a summer too. I did a co-op work term in
Yeah.
Whistler, so I've been all those places. So
Oh.
for the Ottawa Regents, did you write or draft any of the other books before you published the first book in the series, or did you do them one at a time?
Pretty much did it one at a time, but I would be writing snapshot or editing a snapshot and think of something for one of the other books, and I would just write it in a note or something. That's how all of these stories started. It was a brain dump document where I would just throw things. I didn't sit and think about oh, this character is like this and this is their name and this is I don't know, these are their qualities or characteristics. They just kind of appeared in my head, formed, and they said things about themselves or situations or dialogue. So I wrote it down. I was the scribe. I just would it was a mess. The brain dump document is an absolute mess. And then from there, I kind of had to piece together what would be the actual plot and where the dialogues, where's that supposed to be? What scene is that supposed to be in? So yeah, but a lot of times my mind would wander to other stories when I was writing Snapshot, I'd still be making notes for Afterglow, and I didn't even know that it was going to be called Afterglow. So I did make notes, but definitely not any formal drafting.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay.
And you said that they were all interconnected standalones because the guys are all on the same team and the
Mhm,
girls kind of know each other.
mhm.
Did you have any challenges towards the end of the series where you were like, I wish I had changed this one thing to make this plot easier or to make did you have any situations where you'd written yourself into a corner?
Um, Not really, but I did have to when I was drafting the second book and towards the end of that, when I was like, okay, when are Fletcher and Beraz spending time together? Actually, I had to kind of map out the whole timeline to be like, does this even make sense? Wait a second, what happened in between here and here? And so I literally had to make up a timeline okay, this is when Landon and Indy met, 4 years ago or something. And then the fall, the spring, all of the years that had passed through, I guess, and I'm like, oh, this is when Beres started law school because I mentioned it in book one, that she was starting in the following. fall. And so it's just like, I had to reorganize that a little bit because I think I was just like, yeah, let me just write. But then towards the end, I was like, wait, this won't make sense. So then when I was writing the epilogue of Butterfly Effect, Fletcher and B are not actually there. I feel like maybe people assume that they're there, but I definitely specifically made sure they weren't because they were off doing other things. And so when they come back, when all the characters come back in book 3, that time has passed, and there's some overlap. So you kind of figure out like, oh, this is what they were doing during that time period. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I know I
Awesome.
definitely had some issues with that because with my first series, I didn't plan it out super well. It was a college hockey romance. So then it's, you have to plan out, well, when are these things happening? And then these characters are meeting. So when I wrote my newest one, which is my roller derby romance, it's also a workplace romance. They work for a professional hockey organization, like an NHL team, um, because it's her best friend from the hockey romance book. So I really had to plan it out because I was like, early in the book, 2 of them are getting married, which are the characters from my other book. So he's a professional hockey player. So you're like, okay, well, when is a good time? When are other people going to be able to go, right? In
Yeah.
the summer,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's when they're off. And then I
Yep.
had to think ahead. Well, when is their season opening going to be? When is
Mhm.
this event going to be? When is this charity gala? And I had to like plan that out really well. So that was actually, I found,
Yeah.
and I'm probably going
Yeah.
to take that forward to the rest of my books, but it's one of those learning experiences, right? Like you learn as you
100%.
go.
Yeah.
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 I still
And it's
haven't
like,
learned
oh,
to do that.
you're like, oh, there's this holiday and that holiday. And
Yeah, exactly.
especially when it's cultural. There's a lot of South Asian holidays that occur in between like US and Canadian holidays, and Canadian
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is different than
Yes, exactly. Yep.
the
Mhm.
US, and Diwali falls somewhere around then as well. And so it's like all
Mhm.
of these important times, whether it's like career related or just life related. Yeah, just
Yes.
just managing all of those. Sometimes you're like, wait a minute, this is supposed to happen over Christmas, and but it's gonna be snowing in Canada in November. Like there's already snow on the ground. I'm setting up the scene. Is it snowing? What day is it? Like I don't know what's going on. So sometimes you have to
Yeah.
kind of like
That's another
just
reason
map.
editors are helpful though too. Yeah. They
Exactly.
jump in and they're
Yes.
like, "It doesn't make sense that this happened at this time, right?" So that's a good thing. Good thing.
We
Yes,
love a good
definitely.
editor.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
my editor.
Oh my
Shout out to
god.
Lindsay Clark. She's wonderful.
Nice. So do you have more books coming in this series? Are you looking to start a new series or new standalone book?
So I do have a plan for a prequel novella with some of the side characters, another hockey player, and the female main character is not part of their girl group, but it is Wade's best friend growing up from Butterfly Effect. So Skylar makes appearances in several of the books. Jaeger
Nice.
is the captain of the team. He's like grumpy, he's older, he's a veteran. And actually, in Snapshot, they get married. They elope and get married. And so
Oh,
this is
fun.
kind of their story before. And again, I think their story will only be a novella. I think that's just about enough story as I have for them. Um, but yeah, I've been working on that, and then I have a manuscript that's completed that I finished in 2020 that I'm kind of reworking. That would be a standalone,
Mhm.
which is supposed to be set in 2000s and 2004 to 2012 or 13, I guess. So it's kind of a little bit of a throwback to, I guess, my youth. um, and it follows a South Asian woman just kind of through all of her relationships. And so there's not just one main male character, but I mean there is because it's ultimately who she ends up with, but it's kind of dicey. It's like an emotional roller coaster. There's a lot of it's very different from these contemporary rom-coms because it's I hate to say that it's a little bit in the past. It's a little retro with the music and just how the world is, just
Mhm.
not as dependent on smartphones and technology.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
And just there was a freedom at that time.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think there's just a lot of changes. I mean, in 2008, that was a huge year for the world. I feel like there was a lot of economic turmoil. And so, yeah, it feeds into just all the situations that the characters are in. But yeah, and it's more angsty. Like this series is very rom-com, and there are silly parts, funny parts in that. There's just her escapades and dating and meeting different partners is very silly. But overall, there's a lot of angst and trauma that she's working through over the years. And so, yeah, I hope people like it. I was thinking the other day that on Threads, I would be like, please don't hate me if my next book makes you cry, because I know these are just silly and they're just supposed to make you laugh. But like, please read my next book, even if it's completely different. I'm begging.
Oh,
Yeah. And then I have so many ideas. It's endless. There's so many ideas and just not enough time.
I think
yes.
people love it when you make them cry, so that it shouldn't be a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Good, good. I
Yeah.
have had some complaints about this. Like I went in trying to read a smutty rom-com and instead I'm bawling at midnight, you know. Oops,
Yeah,
sorry, I didn't
But they
mean
still
to.
shared it with their friends.
Yeah,
That's
I
exactly,
hope so.
insane.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you said earlier that you're now having to do timelines for your
Mhm.
stories. So what does your process look like when you go into writing? Like, are you plotter, pantser?
Man, I think it's changed truly over the years. Because initially I felt like I was more of a, and it still may be, but like I would know like a general plot and I would make like a kind of like very basic outline, like this major thing happens in every chapter, and I would have like
Yeah.
30 chapters or something, right? Like this thing has to happen in that chapter. And then I would write it and it would kind of just be like whatever's in my head, just like dumping out, you know? And then I would realize, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense for this to be in this chapter. I'll switch it around or whatever. And that would just happen in the editing phase. So I feel like originally it was very, very little plot and a lot of pantsing. And now I feel like, especially with this series, again, like I said, I started with that brain dump that wasn't in like chronological order. There was just scenes and dialogues and random facts about the characters that would just, and then I would like go into a rabbit hole researching about that one thing and then like add that research into the brain dump document. So I feel like then I had to like piece it together in terms of like this happens first and then this happens and then this happens and all that kind of stuff. And then in this scene is where that dialogue goes. So I felt like I didn't realize that there was a word for it, but apparently it's mosaic writing, that you don't write in order, but you can just write
Huh?
and then you kind of organize it later. So I feel like with each of these books that I've actually published, that's what happened, that I became a mosaic writer. Maybe just because I had so many ideas or it was just kind of flowing. It wasn't flowing chronologically. It was just things would come up and I would just jot them down. And so then I had to figure that out later. But in the figuring out later, those plot outlines got a lot better because I had
Mhm.
to be like, here's my document with like, this has to go in this order for the plot to make sense. And then here's all the stuff that I'm slowly organizing from the brain dump doc into those sections. And here's the dialogue goes that with that scene. So I think they got more detailed as I went on. But still the characters just kind of do whatever they want. Like I'll
Yeah.
be planning my whole scene or whatever, and then they just take it in a different direction. And I kind of just have to figure out how it works. And sometimes that means that scenes get cut. Sometimes it means that like that is no longer the story that they want to share. And so things
Mhm.
change. And so it's not always rigid either. That's how the story is going to go because the characters just kind of do whatever they want
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in the background, my cat Simon is just like freaking out. He's just like bouncing all over the room, and I'm trying not to be distracted by it, but he's being crazy.
That's funny.
Silly kitty. So while you're writing, to avoid distractions like crazy cats, do you have any particular vibes? Do you need music or quiet? Do you like snacks or drinks? Any particular place you like to write?
You know, I have not been in a good writing routine for a few months now. There's just been so much with life going on. But when I was in a good working routine, I do need silence. I think music is very distracting for me. I know people do it to like set the mood, but I fear that I may have undiagnosed ADHD. So I feel like the music just will take me somewhere else. And so often, if I do play music, it's the ambient, like electric guitar, concentrate like work concentration music playlist. Like it's not it doesn't have anything to do with like the vibes of the story, which I do enjoy putting together playlists for the stories for each book because each of them have like a little bit of a different vibe. I
Mhm.
did enjoy doing that, but I just can't listen to it. I just need quiet focus. And I think the most effective for me is writing sprints.
Mhm.
just because I feel like I get very distracted. La 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 la.
Yeah.
I'll just, find
Just
something
sit here
else
for
to
8
do.
hours and write.
Yeah, yeah, but writing sprints will do it, and I like to have accountability partners, so I'll ask somebody, an author friend who may be working on a book as well at the same time, be like, "Hey, you wanna do a writing sprint?" And there are always people who are down, like, I'm down, and there are people out there who are constantly writing, and I am so amazed that they can do that. Mine is like, now I've met a deadline and now I have to do the writing sprints. So I've given myself a little bit of leeway with upcoming books just because I don't know when they're going to be done. And so I don't want to rush it. I want to give it time. So it's like, okay, it's just gonna take time. I don't know what to say. Even these books took time. I released one a year. I definitely expected to be able to write quicker and I just didn't, but it's okay. We just kind of have to accept that after a while.
Yeah.
And I do usually have coffee or water with me. I do like a little sweet treat on the side, something crunchy, pretzels maybe, or especially like chocolate covered pretzels or
Mhm.
Sounds
um,
delicious.
little espresso beans or stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I rotate the snacks. The snacks are whatever we have in the house, but, yeah, I definitely need a quiet environment. I like going to coffee houses just to get out of the house. Sometimes when I'm in the house, I just get distracted by all the things that are in the house, like,
All
Yes.
the
there's a
things you
pile
have
of
to do.
dishes and there's books on the floor,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
my kids' socks or whatever, or laundry or bathrooms need cleaning, so it's sometimes nice
Yeah.
to just get away. Also, my husband works from home, so it is, very quiet, in the house except for him taking his calls and working upstairs. Sometimes I'm like, "Nah, I don't wanna work downstairs. I'll just go to a nearby coffee house and work." And sometimes
Yeah.
it's like, again, in my notes app while watching the kids play at the playground.
Nice.
I'll just spend 20 minutes on my phone to just have whatever is in my mind, you know? A
Mhm.
lot of a lot of this series was written that way. A lot of, like it was initially a brain dump in a notes app, in my notes app, and
Yeah.
then transferred to a document or, Google Docs, at one point just through my phone, just typing away,
Nice.
and then done edits on the computer later. Because when the kids are awake, I just cannot open the computer. It just is not something that is able to happen. So
Yeah.
just as they're doing whatever they need to do, and I'm just sitting there watching them, and then, we'll take breaks for whatever, um, needs to happen during the
Oh,
day. So
yeah, for sure.
they're older now, they go to school, but Snapshot was written when they were really young and they were both at home, and it was
Stuff.
just
Yeah.
post-COVID. We were just not leaving the house a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know a lot of people who write their books on their phone actually.
Yeah.
Like will do the entire first draft on the phone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know I've done that for 2 books now. It was all done on
Yeah.
my phone.
I
So,
think sometimes it takes the pressure off for some reason.
Mhm.
Like, when you sit at the computer, it feels like I have to be productive, like,
Good.
but again, I think maybe the framing of the writing sprints, because if I do a writing sprint on my phone, I feel like the phone itself is so distracting.
Mhm.
So I just do a writing sprint on my laptop.
Yeah.
I'll set the timer, put the phone in a different room, and,
Yeah.
throw on some ambient music and write for 30 minutes and then take a 10-minute break. And I'll like do a chore in that time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'll be
yeah.
like, okay, this 5 minutes is all that I'm giving the dishes for now. Then I'm going
Yeah.
back to writing. And it's actually been very successful with Afterglow. I think I know it's not super fast, but it's a lot for me. I think I wrote something like 17,000 words in a couple of days,
Nice.
which
Really good.
was a lot. My kids were not around. My husband had taken them to a wedding. And so I
Nice.
had a couple days to myself before I was going somewhere else, and so that was a lot for me. And that was with breaks, right? Like, I gotta eat, you gotta shower, you
Yeah.
gotta do stuff,
Mhm.
but that was pretty big for me, and I know that people do that.
Every
That's
day.
like yeah, that every day or, people can get through 10K a day. That's wonderful. I feel like it takes me longer, and some people write, don't self-edit, but I just feel like my brain doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
will be writing and then rewrite a sentence and rewrite a sentence and change where it was.
Mhm.
I just that this works. The writing system works. The sprints work, and so I
Yeah.
do need to. I feel like if I really want to get these books that are in progress done, that's what I'm going to have to do. It's just been a very busy year so far, so
Yeah.
I haven't been able to prioritize even writing sprint.
I think we all need to like find whatever method works for us
Mhm.
and then just
Yeah.
stick to it.
There's no
I think that's
rules.
the key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. No rule.
And you can always change it. I didn't do writing sprints initially, maybe because I was so inspired and I just
Mhm.
dumped, right? Especially during in 2020, I wrote so much. Snapshot is actually my seventh full manuscript.
Oh, wow.
So I wrote 7 manuscripts in 1 year. That's a lot. And
Yeah.
one of those was like 250,000 words.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah. And that was like, I mean, that was in a matter of like 2 months or something. I was writing constantly. I had pregnancy insomnia, so I was like awake all night uh, for like 2 months.
Yeah.
So I would be like writing at night, and just it was like 6 to 8 hours of writing a day, and it's all terrible. Yeah, it's terrible writing, but it's a lot of words. I look back, I'm like, oh my god. But I mean, there's growth. There's growth, but
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how
You
you
can
yeah,
get
always
it
to be a
be
better
was.
edited.
writer, right? Just write.
Yeah, I think it's just so different. Like how once you find a process that works or just optimizes how you can work better, write better, just keep growing with that. Just instead of going back to that, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna mash words onto a document. And sometimes you just do that and then fix later, but I tend to just reorganize as I'm going. So it's a little bit of a slower process for me.
Then with all these books that you've written, what exactly is the spice level?
So I know that's very like subjective. People have different, I guess, definitions of what constitutes spice. But I would say in general, probably if we're going on like a five pepper scale, maybe three, because there are multiple open door scenes, whether it's just one person hanging out, enjoying themselves, or two, or just the way they explore. I do a lot of sex and kink exploration in the books.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's just people figuring out what they like with the people that they like. So, I would say just because there are multiple scenes and something that's not entirely vanilla, then I would say three. It's not like the most out there taboo thing, but it might be surprising to some. And I would say unexpected because I don't think it's often that you see, I guess, South Asian women with like spitting kinks or, knives in the bedroom or whatever it is, whatever they're exploring. Yeah. So I think that's just, I would say three chili peppers,
Yeah.
medium spicy,
Nice.
maybe spicier than what some people read, but maybe less spicy than what others.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's the way it is. And you
yeah,
have to classify them a certain way for yourself, and then other people will classify them the way they see them as well. And that's fine,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other important part of a rom-com, other than the spice, is the humor. So I'm sure yours have a lot of the witty banter, but how do you also use physical comedy on the page to get that humor across?
So I actually I think that's one of the hardest parts to write because with physical comedy, sometimes a lot of things are happening at the same time. And so to describe that, when I grew up on a lot of physical comedy. My father is a very funny guy and we would just watch a lot of comedy that had physical humor in it. And so I think that maybe why I enjoy it so much and why I've written it into my books. One, it's just silly, but it is very hard to like communicate or describe things that are happening all at the same time. One of my favorite scenes throughout all of the books is in Snapshot. Indy is in her office during lunch hour. Nobody's really around. She closes the door to her office, thinks she's having private time, and Landon catches her in the middle of playing with herself. And so they surprise each other. He falls over a chair and runs out the door. And, like there's all these shenanigans that happen, or I just feel like hockey guys are just big kids. They're truly just giant children. And so there's a lot of like immature humor. But if you've ever met a man who is in his 20s who plays hockey, they're pretty silly. Like they may be professional, but they're still just goof offs. And so a lot of the physical humor is with that, like them like slapping each other or just like stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself. Like that's the stuff that my brothers do as grown
Yeah.
adult men. One of my other favorite scenes is in Butterfly Effect because they're fake dating and quote unquote hate each other. They just like pissing each other off. And the team has a Halloween party every year that's themed, and they go into the bathroom to mess around, and everyone else is outside the bathroom door listening in because they did not expect these two to be actually coupled up, and they're actually dating and they're sneaking around. And so the whole roster is outside listening in. And when they open the door, thinking like, oh, no one heard us. The music's blasting. Everyone else is doing whatever. And they open the door and like just this array of like the team and Landon and Indy, like people who are already coupled off, like just fall from the door, like pretending to like inspect the paint on the walls. And like someone, like Fletcher puts himself in timeout against the corner, in the corner, just like, this is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But I do enjoy writing that physical humor because it is a lot of fun. And again, the meat disasters. Beraz literally runs over this guy with her bike, gives him a severe concussion. He thinks he's dying and has seen an angel. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's a lot of silliness. There's also a few, I guess, real situations that happen. There's this one scene in Afterglow where Beraz goes to the bathroom and then takes a shower, and manifests. One of the way it manifests is like just a lack of spatial awareness. She's always having bruises and stuff, and like they're just mysterious because she's bumped into something or other. But basically, on her way out of the shower, she trips like over the track and like bonks her head on the back of the toilet while simultaneously like flushing it. Like there's all sorts of like embarrassing stuff happening. And she's like in her towel, like bonked her knee, bonked her shoulder on like the toilet, and is just like trapped between like the toilet and shower. Fletcher's like on the other side of the door because their roommate's like, "Are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And she has to like let him in to help her get out because she's twisted in between the. So that happened to me.
Oh,
I was
oh
at my
my
parents'
God.
house once, and I literally they have those like glass shower doors that are on a track, but like on top of a tub. It's not like to the floor. So you have to climb out of the tub, and I guess 1 foot out of the tub and the other one snagged on the track. And so I tripped, and again I hit my shoulder on the toilet bowl, hit my head against the back of the toilet while my hand was trying to grab for something. The toilet literally flushed just for extra humiliation, and my husband's outside the door, like, what is going on? And so I wrote
Oh
that
my
down. I was like, this is
gosh.
something that would happen to Beraz. I feel like this would be her. And so I've written some of these silly moments. People are like, where did you come up with that? Yeah, I just live a very silly life. I mean, my husband is also a golden retriever type, and I'm definitely the grumpy black cat. Don't talk to me in the morning. Stop goofing off. Leave me alone kind of wife. And so a lot of the silliness that you see from Landon and Wade in the first two books, especially, is reflective of that dynamic that we have. I have lots of inspiration in my daily life for physical comedy because there's just so many things that go wrong.
That's awesome, though. I love when you get the inspiration from real life, whether it happened to you or to a friend or somebody you've seen before. I think that's
100%.
so cool.
Yeah.
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 Um, and then you were saying that found family is like a big trope in your books. Would you say that that's like the number one trope that tends to be favored in your books, or are there other ones that are across the board in all your books too?
I think one big one is forced proximity because it's
Hmm.
like in all of these situations, they're forced together, right? With Snapshot, they're working together, they're lawyer client. And then they have so many times where they're stuck in an office together, seeing each other, invited to a game as like the lawyer of the client. So it's like, okay, here's some free tickets, come sit in our club seating or whatever. Or with Butterfly Effect, because they're already working together, but then they're fake dating. So they have to go on all of these public dates, be in the car together constantly, driving each other around or doing stuff as a couple would do, being in each other's apartments, just forced in these tiny spaces. And again, Afterglow is roommates to lovers. So they're literally living together for the summer. She's trying to study for the next time she takes the bar. So she's spending a lot of time at home trying to focus when a very distracting man is just lounging about because he's in the off season, doesn't want to go home to hang out with his parents or siblings or anything like that back in Prince Edward Island.
Mhm.
So it's just a lot of force to be together, and I often feel like what's his name? Vladimir, in Tangled with like the two
Mm.
unicorn figurines, like forcing them to kiss, and when they finally do, you're just smiling about it to yourself. So yeah, I like creating these like forced situations where they're just like there's no option but to have to hang out together. Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. Love that.
And then
And found family is definitely a big one because I feel like the friendships between the hockey players, I mean, that's like a brotherhood that they've developed over
Mhm.
years.
Mhm.
And same thing with the girls. The ladies are all professional women who have grown together in different ways and created this little found family for each other. And one thing that I um, wanted to make sure I wrote in, because that is my experience, I have a really lovely group of in real life girlfriends who we have seen each other through the years. Through various phases. And it's just that kind of support and protection of each other. I wanted that to be communicated. Like they all look out for each other. There's nothing that will stop them from protecting those they love. There's this one scene in Snapshot where they're all out at a bar after a game, and Gabe isn't there, but Indy and Landon and Wade are there, and they find at that time Gabe's fiance. They catch him cheating. And so Indy's ready to fight. She's ready to put hands because that's her best friend. And like Landon and Wade have to like hold her back. Even Baraz later, she knows how to use a knife. She's very good with knives. So she was like, if anything happens to you, she'll like pull out a knife and like pretend to stab things. It's like they're just very fiercely protective of each other. And I just like that they support each other throughout all the things, whether it's career stuff or family stuff or personal life issues.
I love a good
Yeah.
girl squad. It's one of my
Mhm.
faves.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that's a great trope. But you also said you enjoy flipping tropes. So how does that work for you?
Yeah, I think age gap is a very popular trope. When like the man is older,
Mhm.
but I think it changes the dynamic entirely when the woman is older. In Butterfly Effect, she's 32. So that's like a very different life experience than a 24-year-old hockey player. And so the dynamic changes. She just has more life experience and she's like I don't know. It just changes the dynamic, and I enjoyed flipping that trip because I know people like age gap, but I liked how she was actually the dominant one. And Wade, who thus far in his life has just had no issue like finding partners or, no challenge. He can be with whoever he wants to be with. And the one person who he wants to actually be with is the person who doesn't want anything to do with him. And so just him being a pathetic, pathetic man. I love it. He's so desperate for her. So down so bad. So at the end of Snapshot, basically in the epilogue, there's a hint that basically at their wedding reception, Landon and Indy's wedding reception, that night, Wade and Gabe had a one night stand. And so that kind of leads into Butterfly Effect. And a year later, Wade can't think about being with anyone else since that night. And so it kind of just moves that
Yeah.
story along. Excuse me. But yeah, so I like the age gap. Obviously, she's further along in her career than he is as well. And it's just gives a different dynamic than the traditional age gap.
Yeah, for sure.
The other one that I really liked was in Afterglow, Fletcher's the virgin, and he's inexperienced. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's never kissed a girl, held hands with a girl. He's just very, very shy. He has social anxiety and has never worked up the courage to kind of, talk to any girl. And definitely not after meeting Baraz many years ago, has not been able to speak with her. And so she doesn't even think that he likes her at all because he's never interacted with her. And she's very chatty and just outgoing and bubbling, and her mind goes a million miles an hour. So she never thought that that is even a thing, to just be so quiet or like someone and not be able to talk to them about it. And she's much more experienced. They're about the same age, but just the way she's so gentle and open to teaching him, I think it's very different than when it's a virgin FMC. And
Mhm.
Mhm.
the man knows everything and he'll show you what he likes, where she gets to kind of control that narrative. She already knows what she likes. And
Yeah.
she's bi, Wade is bi, and so they kind of have to figure out what they like. It's separate stories, but there's a lot of exploration done about that in their individual stories. So I think when you flip it like that, I think it
For
just
sure.
gives a different depth, a different dynamic.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Even lawyer client, I feel like oftentimes it's the man who's the lawyer and the
Hmm.
woman who's the client. And it works really well. There's a lot of good books out there with that trope. But I like that she was the lawyer. Um, and she
Hmm.
was kind of in charge of that aspect of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. That's really good.
Yeah.
And so you said that you are releasing one book a year with that type of scheduling. I'm sure each release has taught you a new thing. What would you want to pass on to other authors who may be releasing their first
Oh
book?
my gosh, there's so many things I've learned. So many, like every release has been so different. Um, And I think that some things are just about whether you're able to do them or not,
Mhm.
because there's so many ways to do pretty much each step of publishing. You know what I mean? Like some people do their own arcs. Some people do all the admin work to send out arcs. And some people will just give it to a PR person or have somebody
Yeah.
else manage the arcs. And so
Mhm.
I did that with my first 2 releases. I did it on my own because I
Yeah.
couldn't afford anything else,
Yeah.
and I didn't have the numbers to be like, "I need to hire someone to, like, manage this for me." I was more than happy. I think I sent out 68 arcs or something, you know what I mean? And it's
Mhm.
not at all a huge number, but I had hoped for, like, 50 or something, and I got 68, and I was like, "Alright, let's go."
Awesome. Yeah.
And so I didn't feel like okay, this is a huge administrative task. And then maybe because it went okay, then butterfly effect, there was a little bit more like interest. Right? And so like the admin tasks grow. And
Yeah.
then personally, I felt like butterfly effect didn't wasn't as well received as snapshot.
Hmm.
I know like people are like, oh, it's not a flop, it's doing great. But I feel like at the time of release, maybe it was just the time
Yeah.
Snapshot was released in August, and then
Mm.
Butterfly Effect was released in December, early December, which is, that's very like holiday theme heavy.
Yeah.
People have other,
Mhm.
at the time, it just didn't seem like it was doing that well. And then I just had all these admin tasks around arcs, and I decided with Afterglow, I'm not dealing with it. I
Hmm.
will find an arc management PR
Yeah.
person. I just found someone in my budget and
Yeah.
just went with it. I'm just not dealing with it. Like I'm not dealing with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
admin of it. I don't want to worry about who got it and when and then did they open their, like all the
Yeah.
little tiny admin tasks that I was just over. But it's like you have to have value for that. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Yes, I have 100 extra bucks that I can put towards this or whatever it is.
Mhm.
So if you have the budget and it's something that it's worth it to you to offload to somebody else, do it. If you have the means to offload it, because there's a million admin tasks um, with doing things
Mhm.
yourself.
For sure.
And I still do a lot of things myself, which is usually why I'm always behind on admin tasks. But
Yeah.
I, I do enjoy being like, I don't have to deal with arcs anymore. I know that I can trust this
Yeah.
person. And to be honest, I had like 400 signups for Afterglow, so it went really well.
That's
I'm
really good.
very pleased with that, and I feel like readers found that, and then we're able to go back to Snapshot or Butterfly Effect and read about the characters that they were talking about in Afterglow and find their stories too.
Yeah.
So sometimes it just works out that way. I know other people were like, I hired a PR firm and it didn't go well. Well, next time
Mm.
either don't use it or you could try yourself. You can market it yourself. So people find different ways to succeed in that. And that's another thing that it's like just because one person succeeds doing it one way doesn't mean that you will
Hmm.
too. So you have to
Mhm.
find what works for you and keep going with it. And if it doesn't work anymore, just try to find something else. I think as so many things constantly change in social
Yeah.
media, in the internet algorithms of every site, that we are constantly pivoting. And I think that you just have to be ready to pivot. You can't just be stuck on
Yeah.
one thing. I used to have TikTok. I had not that great success, I would say, on TikTok. I
Yeah.
just got rid of it. People have found success. That's where they've like
Uh-huh.
gone viral, or that's how they've become known. And that's wonderful for them. But I knew that it wasn't working for me. I really enjoy Instagram. I really enjoy Threads. I was so against getting Threads because I was like, not another social media app that I have to keep up with.
Yeah.
But I actually really enjoy it. And I have found so many wonderful connections there. So Instagram it's all like manicured. You know what I mean? Like the posts are
Yeah.
pretty and like everything's organized, and Threads is just like me saying shit. You know what
Chaos.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just like me throwing reaction memes in people's comment sections, or just like
Yeah.
unhinged stuff trying to market
Yeah.
my books, and like because of it, like Butterfly Effect has found new readers because apparently people like pegging. You know what I mean? Like, Threads is the reason why people have come up to me at signing events being like, "I read a thread about you that says one of your books has pegging in it. Is that true?" And I'm like, "Yes, that's true." They're like, "We wanna buy that book." And I'm like, "Excellent. Here you go." So, I think
Perfect.
Threads some people do really well marketing on Threads or Instagram or Reels or TikTok or whatever it is. Some people have wonderful experiences with Facebook ads.
Uh-huh.
And if you have the means, you have the budget, or you want to set aside a budget for it, go for it. Just figure out what works for you and keep going. And then just be ready to pivot in case something changes and
Yeah.
it doesn't go well anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of pivoting that happens. Yeah.
So you pretty much answered my next question, which was about
Oh,
pivoting and strategy. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
so I feel like sometimes I don't know if it's strategy or if it's just
Yeah.
flying by the seat of my pants and just being like, I'm going to try this. And sometimes it sticks. Like, just throw it on the wall and see if it works. And if it doesn't, just move on. Like, you can try a few more times if you want. But if it's not like bringing you any joy, then I feel like just don't do it. It's going. There's so many changes going
Yeah.
on in the economy. And so just trying to figure
Mhm.
out what is the best investment and finding the best return. For me, honestly, indie bookstores are incredible. Literally have saved my monthly budget so many times, just by sending me a wholesale order, be like, I want 10, 15 books. And I'm like, you guys are amazing because now I can pay for stuff.
Uh-huh.
Or in-person events go really well
Uh-huh.
for me. I feel like just the paperbacks. Amazon doesn't like me very much. KDP, I think they hate everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, they
Recently,
definitely do.
Recently,
Yeah.
they're yeah, and so it's just gotten worse and worse, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe things will change in the next 6 months or a year, you never know. It's very different than what was in 2020, what was in 2023, so it's
Yep.
always changing a little
Uh-huh.
bit. So just figuring out what works best. Like, if local events is your thing, do it. If it's going well on Amazon, keep going. If it makes sense for you to go wide, go wide. Open
Yeah.
it up to more readers who have access to various readers across the world. Yeah,
You mentioned live events. Have you done very many? And what's your favorite thing about?
I've done a few. I have a few coming up, but I've done a few in the past. Most recently, I did Steamy LitCon in LA at the end of October, early November. And I've also done some local events, which I'm really grateful that we have a romance bookstore locally that really champions a lot of authors and hosts signings and release parties. And even just they had this romance event basically. So it was all romanticy authors that were local, very diverse group. There was vendors that had all sorts of bookish items and services as well, like custom sprayed edges and stuff like that, or stickers, a lot of artists, and it was like a wonderful event. I think that maybe 200 people were there, but
Uh-huh.
everyone did incredible. So the community really showed up. And so we're really lucky in that way that we have that in town. But yeah, those bigger conventions tend to be pricier. But for me, the
Yeah.
value comes in meeting fellow
For
authors, like
sure.
people who we've been
Uh-huh.
speaking for 2 years, or we've been friends for 4 or 5 years, kind of came up together, went through the process of publishing together, finally getting to meet them and spend some time with them and
Yeah.
just
Uh-huh.
enjoy, and share, like, so many readers came my way because my friend in another room would send them to me, or I would send them to them, be like, "Oh, did you hear about this person there? You should definitely check it out if you like these kinds of books." Or, like it's a
Yeah.
lot of,
Mhm.
I think interacting with readers is a lot of fun. I'm always surprised. I did not expect anyone in my city to know who I was or the books that I wrote. Honestly, it was like one of the best experiences. They're like, "Yeah, I've read the whole series. Like, I love you. Like, please give me all of your books signed." And I'm like, who are you?
Nice.
Like, I'm so surprised. Like, I'm nobody. Like, no, nobody knows who I am. I'm not like trad pubbed author. I'm not a really super popular indie author. So it's like, it's really amazing that people will make the time to support.
For sure.
And I just appreciate that so much. I love meeting people like that, whether it's online or in person. But meeting people in person, it's just very different. Being like, yes, I am a real person. I'm not just this little avatar cartoon person online. So yeah, it's been really rewarding um, to just be at live events. Um, and I've got one coming up this weekend actually in Orlando that is hosted by the New Romantics and the Winter Park Library. They're hosting a panel for sports romance versus cowboy romance. So there's a bunch of
Nice.
authors who write in those genres, and Carla Peterson, I'm reading with Carla. So she's moderating the panel, and I'm really excited. There's some authors there who I, again, came up with. We kind of have been on this writing journey together, and I've never met them. And so it's really exciting to just see old friends too, people I've met before in Orlando, and just see them again. I'm very excited to be on a panel like that.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that sounds super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got that coming up. Any other events in 2026?
Just some smaller local events. Like, again, we're really lucky to have a romance bookstore that
Uh-huh.
frequently do events, and there's Indie Bookstore Day coming up, so they're hosting an event for that. And then we have a couple of book fairs that are like adult book fairs every month or some. You can just sign up and have a booth. And it's nice because it's local, right? You don't have to
Yeah.
go too far, spend money on flights and stuff. So, and they usually do really well, especially when they're romance themed or adult themed, when
Yeah.
they collaborate with a brewery or a winery or
Uh-huh.
restaurant or something like
Mhm.
that, and it's 21 plus, then you really get a lot of folks coming through. So, yeah. I'm also signing at BookCon in
Oh, okay.
New York City with The Last Chapter.
Ooh,
So that's April 18th. I just have a signing slot with them. I love them. They're from Chicago. I,
Yeah.
I had a signing event with them last fall. But yeah, there's some really wonderful events that I've been invited to, and I'm
Nice.
really um, Emily Rath. I like was in conversation partner with her when she was on tour last fall with Chip Pons. That's like one of the highlights of my year last year. And like Chip and I are good friends. Emily is so sweet. We had a great time. So she's wonderful. I think I'd probably see her at BookCon too, because she's gonna be there. But yeah, I
yeah.
just have a signing window at the Last Chapter booth. I'm not
Mhm.
actually cool enough to have a table there in Indie Alley or anything, but yeah, I'm still excited to just be there with the Last Chapter and see a few friends who are also signing around that time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think kind of like doing the signing with the last chapter is the ideally because then
Yeah.
you have that time that you're signing, but then you have enough time that you can go around and actually see everyone else,
Oh,
Yeah.
which I think is the challenge when you are tabling at such a big event. You're like, but I want to
mhm.
go meet everybody and talk to
I
everybody.
know.
I'm here only.
I
So
know. And I'm like, I'm not even sure I'll have enough time to do that, but
uh,
at least I'll be there with people that I know and authors at the same time who are signing together. Yeah, we'll see if it's possible to actually wander about because I hear it's like a very, very, very busy book event. So
yeah.
we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
So we like to ask our authors, what is one thing that would be the ultimate sign of success for you as an author that's not related to money?
Man, I was thinking about this one after I read it. I think that I would really love to like have one of my books featured like in an article where they're featuring like this author is up and coming or this type of book is something that you've never heard of and like it's on like a list. You know what I mean? That it's like
Mm-hmm.
I've
Yeah.
seen lists for several magazines like Vanity Fair or Cosmopolitan or Glamour or People, you know what I mean? And they've highlighted there's just writers who have said, okay, these are rom-coms that you can't miss out on. Like you may not have heard
Yeah.
of them, but you need to read these. Like I would love to have one of my any book that I write, not necessarily any of the ones that I've already written, but something that I write in the future even to be featured on a list like that. So many of them are indies. You know what I mean? I've seen
Hmm.
more and more
Yeah.
indies come up. They're not all trad pub because I think that a lot of time trad pub is because there's a conversation that happens between the publicist and the magazine or the
Yeah.
article, and that's fine. Like that's how you publicize and how you speak up for your authors. But sometimes it's just someone who loves to read and has
Hmm.
found a book and is shouting about it. They just want to share it, and I would love to be featured on something like that. That doesn't have anything to do with money.
Yeah.
This is it. Yeah.
Definitely.
That's amazing. Yeah, I like that
Yeah.
for
Now
sure.
we're gonna switch gears a little bit and get super serious. Out of all your characters, which one of them would win a dating show, and which one would get kicked off first?
Ooh. I think Gabe might win it.
Mhm.
She's very competitive. She's very competitive. So I feel like she played basketball in university and she's 6 foot tall and she's a basketball player. She's very athletic. She's very competitive. That's part of the charm of her and Gabe because I mean Gabe and Wade because they're both competitive. They're in competitive fields. They're both athletes. And so it's fun to have that competition go through in different aspects of their lives. But yeah, I think Gabe would win it.
Nice.
And I feel like maybe Indira would get kicked off first, but maybe Fletcher too. I feel like Indira would get kicked off because people would think she's mean, and would just want her to go. And maybe I feel like Fletcher would just be too shy. And so
Mm,
people would be like, what's this guy doing here? He would
yeah.
not make it. He probably wouldn't even make it through the interviews, poor guy. He would be so anxious. No, doesn't know what to do with himself. Yeah, I think Indy might get kicked off. They think she's too mean.
Yeah. You had mentioned earlier on that you are working on a prequel to the Ottawa Regents
Uh-huh,
because they had been side characters and now you
uh-huh,
want to tell their story. Are there
uh-huh.
any other side characters that like, came out of nowhere, surprised you, and were like, okay, now I have to tell their story?
I know. I have thought about that actually, and there were a couple of readers who mentioned in Snapshot era that she's the eldest daughter of 3 girls, so she has 2 younger
Mhm.
sisters, and one of them gets engaged and married in the book, even though she's younger. That's an afterglow that her youngest sister is about to get engaged and something happens with the engagement and they break it off. And people have asked for it. Like, what happens to her? Like, we want a story with
Mhm.
her. And I'm like, really? I never even thought. And then I had the thought. Oh, this is
Mhm.
perfect actually. So, she's a dentist. Her younger sister's a dentist, and maybe she'll become the team's dentist. So, maybe she'll find her own Ottawa Regents to fall in love with, but
Nice.
who it'll be, I won't say just because I don't wanna inflame
Yeah.
anyone's expectations. I don't know if that story will ever actually come to fruition, but it might,
Mhm.
or it might be a bonus chapter or something. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
For sure. And as creators, we're not supposed to have favorite children, but do you have a
Oh
favorite
boy.
character that you've written? I know this one's so hard.
No. And it's so bad because I do have an answer for this. And I think it's because I really like Wade's character. And I think it's because of the development that happens from when you see him as like a 20-year-old in Snapshot messing around in the locker room, super young, super juvenile, just a fuck boy. I mean, you know what I mean? Like no one expects like when I announce butterfly effect and they're like, "No, not him with Gabe. She deserves, like not him." Like, but I think just being able to see his character development and
Mhm.
Mhm.
actually reveal who he really is in
Mhm.
butterfly effect rather than like the person that he's pretending to be all along in Snapshot, like his image and just the vibes that he gives off is
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
different. And how it continues to grow, by the end of Butterfly Effect and through you can see it in Afterglow too. So it's like he's still boyish, he's still juvenile, but it's very different and just being able to see him grow, I think that's just one of my favorite things
For sure.
about his character. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this series is very like hockey sports romance heavy, and Nikki and I both write sports romance as well. So
Yes.
we're always looking at any other possible sports to like get into. Are there any sports that you're looking to include in like future books?
So I did have, like I said, I have so many ideas. I have a college basketball series that I
Oh,
was thinking about that follows siblings who all play
that's
D1
good.
basketball. And
Hmm.
then there's another, I think it would be standalone college basketball, but it would be it's basically like Love and Basketball
Hmm. I love that movie.
times uh Bend It Like Beckham. And so yeah, it's about like love when you're young and
Yeah.
trying to move on. And then just ending up at the same school, also playing basketball. But
Hmm.
I mean, in different leagues because it's women's and men's basketball, but still kind of in the same circle. And then there's an assistant coach who's very young who gets kind of thrown into the mix. And so things get complicated. But yeah, I am a big college basketball fan. I went to a school where college basketball was very big. And so it's always fun to kind of write about what you know or are into, your other
For
interests.
sure.
And so, yeah, basketball, college basketball is a lot of fun. I feel like the sport itself is so, because the players are so amateur and anything can happen. Like, it's not like the NBA, like,
Yeah.
college basketball games are just insane. It's a lot of high energy. And I think that reflects in like the athletes and their lives themselves. Everything is very unpredictable. So, yeah, that's probably the only sport that I've thought of. I also had this idea for, um, I guess a novella where it was like it was inspired by a group of hockey I traveled with on a plane. We were traveling to Banff with my family, and there was a group of guys who traveled from Toronto to Calgary. And they were planning to be in some tournament or something. And it just seemed like they were friends or something. It must have just been some sort of rec league or I'm not sure. But I just thought it would be really fun to see 5 or 6 hockey guys each have their kind of romantic story at the airport with
Mhm.
different situations where maybe a girl group was at the airport on a trip elsewhere, but each of the girls is somehow linked up with one of the guys and they all have different backstories and stuff like that. So, that was another idea, but I do like sports romance. I think I just need to step away from it initially. So maybe in
Fair.
the future I'll come back to it, but I'm excited about what I'll work on next. We'll see if I can actually get it
Nice.
together and see what comes up first. But yeah, I'm excited
Yeah.
about the prequel novella. I guess the other standalone that I was working on, other than the full manuscript that I've been kind of working on rewriting, it's very music and dance heavy. And
Mhm.
so I guess
Oh,
dance
nice.
is a sport, but it's based on Indian classical dance, which is
Oh, cool.
very disciplined.
Fantastic.
Uh akin to ballet, but it's kind of like
Mhm.
Save the Last Dance and Step Up, basically.
Cool.
Oh,
Sounds
that
fun.
sounds really good. Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. I haven't been able to sit and be like, I feel inspired by this, but
Yeah, you're not quite there yet for sure.
yeah, not quite there yet. There's a
Mhm.
lot of things that I have to like figure out before I like sit down and actually
Nice.
write it. But there's a good premise, and I hope I can actually do it justice. If
Yeah.
not this year, next year.
Awesome.
Yes.
So, are there any tropes you'd never write or you thought you'd never write but then did?
I don't know. I don't think I don't know if I'll ever I don't wanna say never, but love triangle, I'm not, like, a
Yeah.
huge fan, but I know that some people really like it.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't written it. I haven't written pregnancy trope. I know people like different versions of the pregnancy trope as well, or like surprise baby, accidental pregnancy. I have not done any of those. Maybe because 'cause I'm in the midst of, like,
Yeah,
this
being a mom.
motherhood thing where I'm like, "I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
wanna think about that anymore."
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
actually, Snapchat and Butterfly Effect, they both end in pregnancies, marriage and pregnancies, but, in Afterglow, they both are child-free and they've chosen to be. They do eventually elope, but they don't find marriage make or break you know what I mean? They don't find it the end all be all.
Yeah.
and they elope.
Yeah.
So it's like nobody was there except them, you know? So it was a very private event.
Mhm.
So I just feel like sometimes it's good to have a little diversity. Again, I won't say never because who knows? I could write a lot of things in the future, but um,
For sure.
I haven't pregnancy or love triangle as yet.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. And then what is the one question that you would like to ask our listeners today? And for listeners out there, we'll post this on our Instagram so you can answer there or you can comment below.
Oh my goodness. One question. What do you want from me? No. What is the thing that makes you wanna read a book? Is it, a cute cover? Is it the title? Is it the
For sure.
blurb? Like, do you get a feel for how the writer writes based on their blurb? What is it? Is it tropes? What is the thing that entices you to read a book? So, yeah, that's a question.
Awesome. And then our final question for you is if you could read any trope for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, I'm gonna say Only One Bed. I would read Only One Bed
Mm,
every
Delicious.
day, every day. It's so good. It's so good. It's just so good. I don't know what else to say. They're
that
just
is a
Yeah.
good
forced
one.
in a
I
bed
do enjoy
together.
Love it.
that.
Yeah.
There's no getting away from it, you know?
No, it's so good.
Yeah.
You just yeah. So, yeah, I'll read and this is probably gonna get me canceled or something, but miscommunication trope, I'll read that every time. I'll read it every single time because I love it. It's so real. It's so real.
Real, right?
It
It's
Yes.
so
is.
real, and I don't know if, I don't know what it is about it that people don't like, but, it's real. Nobody understands each other the first time. You say something, and then somebody you'll think about it forever, that
Yeah.
"Did I say that in the way that they understood?" Or you can tell they definitely did not understand,
Yeah.
or they just went a completely different direction, with what you meant to say, and that happens in relationships so much, especially when you're getting to learn about each other, when you're getting to know each other. There's so many
Mhm.
miscommunications. Nobody can read each
Yeah.
other's minds. That's not how it works, and not everyone can just take things at face value, Some people are neurodivergent. They don't they may not pick
Yeah.
up on everything or be able to communicate everything that they mean. They just say something and they realize that, "Oh, this other person is not going to take this well," when it was just an offhand comment or casual or something like that. And so, I know that happens to me a lot,
Yeah.
and I've been married for like 12 years now, almost 13 years. So it's like we know everything about each other and still we can't get it together, So it's very common in new relationships, growing relationships, or even, formed relationships to have some sort of miscommunication.
For
But it's
sure.
like I enjoy watching them get it back together,
Yeah.
to actually work through all the
Mhm.
things and then have that happily ever after. So often it's just like you have miscommunication and then you're not friends anymore or you're
Yeah.
not together anymore and you'll just never know. You'll just never know what actually went wrong. So, yeah, I will
Yeah.
read Only One Bed and Miscommunication every day.
Nice.
Perfect.
Good.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ruby, for coming out and letting us peek behind the curtain of your author life. And before we forget, can you remind us the next book that's going to come out and when it will be released so that we can all go pre-order
I wish I could tell you any of these things,
it?
except that it doesn't have a title yet and it has no release date. But I I think it will be the prequel novella to the Ottawa Regents series that will feature Derek Yeager, the captain of the team, and Skylar, kind of before all of the
Nice.
series happened. And hopefully I can have it done by the end of the year sometime. So yeah, just look out for it.
So I guess the best thing would be for our listeners to follow you on your social
Yes.
media, keep track
Yeah,
of you. So where can they find you there?
definitely.
We're gonna post these links in our show notes as well. But yeah, let them know.
Sure. I'm on Instagram and Threads, Ruby Rana Writes. I'm on Facebook under my name. I'm not as active on Facebook, but my page does exist. So if you interact with me there, I'll eventually get to it. But Instagram and Threads is like the best way to keep up with all the things about me. I put on announcements and events that I'll be at. I do a lot of sharing and giveaways and stuff like that. So, yeah, You'll definitely see me
Perfect.
active on those two platforms.
Amazing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ruby. And to our listeners out there, if there are any questions you still have for Ruby that you wished we'd asked, drop them in the comments below.
Thanks so much for coming out. It was great talking to you.
Thank you. I had a great time. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for getting dirty with us. If you had fun, leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. New episodes will be released every Wednesday, and we've got an amazing lineup of authors to share with you.
If there's someone you'd love to see on our show, or you've got burning questions for your favorite authors, send us an email to backstagewiththebookbabes@gmail.com or leave us a comment on our social media accounts. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, Backstage with the Book Babes. Links and applications for authors to join us as guests are at linktree/Backstage with the Book Babes.
You can follow me, Albie Blake, with that handle on social media, specifically Instagram and TikTok.
You can follow me, Nikki Jewell, and learn about my books at authornikkijewell.com. I'm also on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at NikkiJewell_books.
Thanks again for joining the party. Keep turning those pages and keep it spicy.